What language are you guys thinking in right now?
English.
Because that's what we're speaking.
Oh yeah.
Hi! Welcome back to our channel. In our last video, we talked about the truth about living life here in Dubai. And for this video, we are going to talk about being trilingual.
If you haven't subscribed yet, now is your time. You can also turn the post notifications on so whenever we have videos coming out, you'll be notified.
As the title says, we're going to talk about how life was growing up with 3 languages. English, Tagalog, and a Filipino dialect called Ilonggo. We learned English as our first language. It was the language that was introduced to us by our parents. That's what we spoke at home, church, school, because we went to an international school.
So English is the first language we used because that's the language that our parents spoke to us.
We were exposed.
Yes.
And I think it's like our default language up to now.
Yeah, it's a default language. Like whenever you put us outside, the language in our minds would be English. So it would be easier to communicate with people and find your way around.
For Tagalog, we learned how to speak it when we moved from that English-speaking school into a Filipino-speaking school here in the UAE. That transition challenged us to be able to speak and adapt to this whole different language and start using it more often than we did before. Fun fact, we weren't taught to speak Tagalog at all. We just learned by ourselves through watching Filipino shows, listening to Filipino music, and also being surrounded by Filipinos. Angel was the first one who started speaking Tagalog.
How old were you? I was 12.
I was 10.
11 turning 12. Or...
I was 8 when I first spoke Tagalog. Also, even when all of my classmates were speaking Tagalog, I was the only one speaking English.
Me too. I was the only Filipino speaking English in my class. And the last language that we know or we understand is Ilonggo or Hiligaynon. It is a dialect that our parents use because they come from that place in the Philippines. They also communicate with us in Ilonggo, but we would reply to them in Tagalog or English because we couldn't speak Ilonggo fluently. We don't really speak Ilonggo at all.
Yes, we could just understand.
If we would be put in like dire situations where we have to speak Ilonggo, especially for in the Philippines, that we would
we'd probably be able to. We'd probably survive.
Yeah, it's just that it's difficult to put the words together.
Like the grammar, like grammatically, it's very hard to... We understand it, most of it, I can say.
We also have struggles knowing 3 languages. Personally, my struggle is the transitioning from one language to another. If people would speak to me in English, I would reply to them in English. But if they speak in Tagalog, I would still think in English and convert the answer in Tagalog and finally speak Tagalog. Also the same with Ilonggo.
My struggle is whenever someone asks me if I speak a different language, then I would say Tagalog, of course. And they would be like, oh, can you say something in that language? And automatically my mind goes blank. I cannot say anything, like I'm just blank. Like, does that ever happen to you guys? I have one and it's a little funny. For example, I go inside a room and there's a crowd of English-speaking people. I would of course communicate with them in English, but then when I go out of the room and there's one Filipino-speaking person, I would struggle to speak with this Filipino because all of the words stuck in my brain are still in English. I kind of have to dig for those Filipino words so that I would be able to communicate with this person. When I was just starting to learn the Tagalog language, I was 10 years old. So at school, we had a Filipino subject taught in this Filipino school. As I said, I was the only English-speaking person in my class. We had a lesson about Filipino sayings. There was one that said, ang hindi magmahal sa sariling wika ay higit na malansa sa sariling isla. Ang hindi magmahal sa sariling wika ay higit na ay higit sa amoy ng malansang isda. Ang hindi magmahal sa sariling wika ay higit ang amoy sa malansang isda. In English, it means, for one who does not love his own language, stinks more than a stinky fish. After this lesson, my classmates would come up to me and tease me and they will be like, oh, stinky fish, you don't love your own language, stinky, stinky. And at the time, I was actually like, just laughing it off, but I was kind of hurt because no, it's not that I don't love my language, it's just that I'm just starting to learn it. My bad experience would be in 3rd grade when our class teacher had to leave and had to go back home to the Philippines. And he was telling us about
this and everything. I think like a family member was sick, I guess. At the time, I was expressing my feelings about it. I was like, oh, that's really sad and that's unfortunate. And because I was saying it in English in a Filipino speaking classroom, one of my classmates told me that I couldn't really sympathize with them since I don't speak the language. And I was just like, okay.
One experience that I really didn't like about it is when I was in grade 5. You know, in school, there's this flag ceremony, and in that school, we had to learn the national anthem, Ang Lupang Hinirang, and we had the Ako Ay Pilipino song. And we also had Panatang Makabayan. At that time, I was really interested to like get off the stage and to volunteer. And to lead the Panatang Makabayan. I don't remember it now, I only know Panatang Makabayan. But at the time I remember, and I was so interested. But one of my classmates told me, like, you can't even speak Tagalog well. You're not proud to be Filipino. Where you can't go to the Philippines because you're not even proud. I was like, I was trying really hard. I memorized Panatang Makabayan just because I wanted to lead and go up the stage. You know, some people are just... Of course, knowing third language also comes with pros and cons.
For one, you really have a lot of choices when it comes to music or shows, movies, because you can understand more languages than one. All of that.
Like more options.
And yeah, there's more options. It has different styles as well, so you're more open to those kinds of.
I think another pro would also be that it kind of widens your network with people because you speak 2 languages, so you kind of can cater to different communities.
I cannot think of a specific one, but it's somewhat similar to Angels because especially when you have to go back to the Philippines, you know your language first and foremost, and you will not have any much struggles when it comes to communicating with people.
One pro as well for the Ilonggo language is I used to take Spanish lessons. It would be easier for me to learn Spanish words because some of the words in Ilonggo were already Spanish or similar with Spanish when it comes to days or counting or some basic stuff. I already know it by heart because it's Ilonggo, so I could just pass those Spanish parts and just move on to the harder ones. It really helped me when I learned Spanish before. Yeah, just generally being confused all the time when you transition from one language to another and you have to translate. It's like converting in your mind. Like you hear something, you have to convert it for yourself,
It's
being
like
your own
having
translator.
It's like having an imaginary word map. Like I have like a map in my brain that kind of goes, okay, so this thing goes first, and you know, grammar wise.
One difficult thing when you learn more than just one language is it depends on what language you're most exposed to. Because there was a point in our life where we were exposed to Filipinos more than the international community. Because of that, we used English less. And when we suddenly got back to like the international community, somewhat the fluency in English has to get back up slowly. It didn't suddenly just all the words came back. It really depends on what language you use most often. It's like almost impossible to use 2 languages simultaneously. One fluency has to get up when the other fluency must go down. On a serious note, I highly encourage people, especially like someone like us who grew up abroad, to learn Tagalog. It's not very difficult to learn. Expose yourself with your culture. Expose yourself with people who speak the language. Because even though English is your first language, you can always learn a second one. For the parents who raise their kids with them abroad, I think it's very helpful to actually help encourage your kids to speak Tagalog. So when they go home, they can communicate with your family members. And just like us, I'm very happy that our parents did not hinder the process of us learning another language because it proved to be very beneficial for us now. I'm not just saying this for the Filipinos. It also applies to any nationality. Like for example, if you're German and then you speak English, like English is your first language, you can also definitely learn German so you can communicate with your own countrymen.
So it's very common in the Philippines that when a Filipino speaks fluent English, they're automatically like being mocked, I guess, teased, even if it's in a funny way. I don't think it's very funny, actually. I feel like it shouldn't be taken as a laughing matter because the fact that a person can speak more than one language is already something to be proud of. So I guess it's very toxic to, if you correct someone with proper English and they're gonna be like, ikaw na matalino, ikaw na magaling, like, why?
Also, for those people who grew up speaking English or whose first language is English and they encounter a person who has a different mother tongue but also knows how to speak English. However, if this person's English isn't perfect, if they don't have the best accent, they shouldn't be a laughing stock. First of all, it's already a plus if they know another language other than their own language. Even if you know 2 languages, even if you're not fluent in any of them, it's always better than just knowing one language for your entire life, right?
Because we've seen like a lot of videos, especially Filipinos, who are being mocked about their accent when they speak in English. And I think the accent won't matter as much as the meaning of what you want to say. People learn, you know.
People try.
Yeah, people try hard, and just trying hard is already a big plus. It's also very common, like for us especially, since we were used to speaking English first before Tagalog. So when we speak in Tagalog, there's a bit of an accent that is really not noticeable for us. A lot of people call you maarte. I do not take offense in such comments, but sometimes it's not necessary. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I'm very happy that I learned Tagalog. I love the richness of the language.
I love how deep
Yeah, it adds depth to what you want to say.
What's funny is our Tagalog fluency is only conversational. Like when we talk to Filipino speaking people, then we could perfectly communicate with them. But when you let us write an essay, when you let us do a speech, then we're just gonna fail because we're just not good at it. It's only for conversing with people. Whereas in English, for me, I'm more confident in writing in English than speaking it in a speech or speaking in front of people.
I feel confident speaking, but I don't really feel that confident in writing.
I do not feel confident speaking in English one-on-one. But if you make me go up the stage and have a speech right, then I could just blurt out words. That is not the same case for Tagalog. I could never like go up the stage and speak in Tagalog.
I'm actually very interested in learning Korean for the reason that I love watching K-dramas and like I love K-pop. I really want to learn the language for me to actually understand what's going on. Actually, I can already write and read and understand the basics, but like I cannot structure it yet. So I'm still learning.
I also had to learn very basic Russian because I had to communicate with the tourists at work. And I only used it once with a child and she was surprised that I was asking her what her name is.
And I can read Korean, all I see is squares and lines.
Circles.
And circles. As I said, I learned Spanish before, but I think I grew tired of it because I can't really speak to any Spanish person. Right now, I'm trying to learn sign language.
Say hi.
Hi! So I guess that's it for this video.
I think we really had fun doing this video.
We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share and comment and of course subscribe.
Also, let us know what content you want to see from us. Just comment down below your suggestions and we'll see if we can do it.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.